what if knowing just a little bit about how title works would actually help separate you from all the other realtors in your area and also help you get more business? Well, we're going to talk about that today and show you exactly how. Stay tuned. This episode of Keeping It Real is brought to you by Real Geeks. How many homes are you going to sell this year? Do you have the right tools? Is your website turning soft leads into interested buyers? Are you spending money on leads that aren't converting? Well, Real Geeks is your solution. Find out why agents across the country choose Real Geeks as their technology partner. Real Geeks was created by an agent for agents. They pride themselves on delivering a sales and marketing solution so that you can easily generate more business. Their agent websites are fast and built for lead conversion with a smooth search experience for your visitors. Real Geeks also includes an easy-to-use agent CRM. So once a lead signs up on your website, you can track their interest and have great follow-up conversations. Real Geeks is loaded with a ton of marketing tools to nurture your leads and increase brand awareness. Visit realgeeks.com/keepingitrealpod and find out why realtors come to Real Geeks to generate more business. Again, visit realgeeks.com/keepingitrealpod. And now, onto our show. Today's episode is brought to you by Corded.io. Are you looking for agents to join your brokerage or team? Now, as a real estate recruiter, I can tell you the answer is always yes. But most agents aren't looking to move right now. So how do you know who to contact? Well, what if I were to tell you there's a recruiting and retention tool powered by artificial intelligence that shows you exactly which agents in your local market are looking to leave their brokerage right now and which agents at your own firm are also looking to leave you? Now, I've been recruiting realtors for 15 years and I've hired over 2,000 agents. I can tell you with no exaggeration, this is the tool I've been waiting for. Corded's AI looks for trends across dozens of variables for each agent in your market and shows you which agents they believe are likely to move. Not only does it do that, but Corded's AI went and visited my recruiting website and read everything I offer. So now when I'm recruiting, Corded's AI tells me exactly what to say based on that agent's needs and what my brokerage can offer. It even writes emails for me. I've never seen anything like it, and I use it every single day. Now, if you are looking to grow your brokerage, Corded.io is the best tool out there. Visit Corded.io to schedule a demo. Again, that's Corded.io. And now, onto the show. Welcome to another episode of Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made by real estate agents and for real estate agents. My name's DJ Paris. I'm your guide and host through this show. And in just a moment, we're going to be speaking with top 1% agent Cassidy Ecklund. Before we get to Cassidy, just a couple of quick announcements. As always, please help support our show by telling a friend. Think of another realtor that could benefit from the great stuff that you hear on the show and let them know about it. Have them pull up a podcast app and search for Keeping It Real, subscribe, and also please leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the show, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening to us. Let us know about your experience so that we can continue to improve. That's our mission here. And also, too, if you have somebody in your local market that's just killing it, and you're like, I want to know how that person, that agent is doing what they're doing, let us know. We will reach out. We will get them on the show. So let us know who you want to see on the show in the future, because this is for you and we want to, meet your needs. And maybe you can't get to that agent very easily, but I promise we can. We'll do that for you. All right. Without further ado, let's get to my great conversation with Cassidy Ecklund. Today in in our Rising Star series is Cassidy Ecklund from Remax New Horizons Realty in central and northern Wisconsin. I want to tell you why we decided to have Cassidy on the show as our Rising Star. Cassidy Ecklund is a real estate agent at Remax New Horizons Realty in Price County, Wisconsin. Now, prior to becoming a real estate agent, which, by the way, she became one in October of 2023, she was a regional member at a local title company. Now, it's been her dream to apply her prior knowledge to her real estate career. And she is married to her amazing husband and has 2 small children. In her free time, she enjoys bow fishing, spending time with family, and helping her community. I want everybody to follow Cassidy on her Facebook page. We'll have a link to that. You can friend her on Facebook and see all the cool stuff she's into. Cassidy, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I was very excited to learn that Rhinelander is part of the area that you service because not only did I go to camp there, but my sister went to camp in a place nearby in Minocqua. So funny enough, I
Okay.
know a little bit about your area, but I think I was only there when I was in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. So it's been some time that I've been to Rhinelander, but it is a beautiful part of Wisconsin, just gorgeous. I remember just amazing stuff. So
It
all
is.
right. You're doing some amazing things early on in I would say not only a difficult time to be a real estate agent, but also not a tremendous amount of opportunity in your area just based on population. It's not there's nothing wrong with your area. Your area is awesome. It's just not super highly populated. So you are doing some insane things, and I want to tell our audience about that. But before we get to how you're kicking butt out there in your first year, which is amazing, I want to hear your story. So you came from the title world. So tell us about how that prompted you to get into real estate.
So working in title, you cut your checks to everybody, and I was like, oh man, every closing is kind of a slap in the face.
You're like,
you know?
they get this much?
Yeah, yep. And I absolutely loved working in title. Honestly, like if this never works out, that's exactly where I'm going back to. um, yeah, I was a CNA for a lot of years before I got into title. So it was just kind of like an ad on Indeed that I went for and ended up working there. And then I just fell in love with real estate. And, working in title, you build relationships with all of the realtors in your area, all the lenders, local, non-local, like pretty much anybody within a 2-hour radius. I've probably talked to them. Um, or done business with them at one point. So it was really nice getting to know people and then learning like what they do. And then I just kind of branched off from there and decided to become a real estate agent.
So let me understand. And by the way, full disclosure, I'm a part owner in a title company, and I don't even understand title myself. So that's kind of embarrassing to admit, but we're not here to talk about title anyway. But what I do want to know about your experience at title is you got to see how agents acted. You got to see their behavior. You got to see who in your local community was able to get deals closed. You were also able to see what they charged. You're also able to see how the lenders performed in their behavior. So you got this really in-depth knowledge of like who's doing it a certain way, who's doing it a different way, who's most effective. And let's talk about that. Like that's incredible knowledge to have.
Yeah, yep. It's come in handy, especially when you have buyers who aren't pre-approved yet and they want contacts. You know which lenders you send an email to and they don't get back to you for 4 days, or which ones work nights and they'll email you at 6 o'clock at night. Yeah, it's been amazing. And not only that, but you also see like what lenders charge for loan fees. So every lender, they charge a different amount in closing fees. Um, so that's been incredible. And then you have your ones who they keep pushing out closing, wanting more from the buyers. So you get to pin down who those are, and you get some really good contacts and get close to your local lenders. So yeah, it was really just amazing building those relationships before I got into this and then carrying it all over.
So for our listeners, here is not a terrible idea to consider. Find out, if you're listening to this, you have closed deals, which means you've probably worked with a title company if you're in a state that does that. And well, there's always title, but depending on if you go through attorneys or not, every state's a little bit different there. But if you are able to talk to reps at title companies, they know all this stuff. They know the lenders who get deals closed, who charge the least. They know the lenders that charge more and maybe don't work as hard, or certainly more difficult to work with. This is a great place to learn from them so that you, as the agent, you feel more confident saying to your client, especially your buyers, hey, I'm friends with some of the title reps in our area. I know who's really actually good. Everybody says they're good, but I know who's actually good. And I'm going to get you that. And I imagine, Cassidy, like, that's an amazing thing to bring to a buyer. That separates you from a lot of other agents right there. Is you have this sort of like behind the scenes knowledge that you can bring to your buyers and say, you know what, here's the best lender. Like, you have confidence that basically the best lenders in your area.
Yeah, yep, exactly. And honestly, all throughout Wisconsin, because in my area, it's a lot of people buying lake houses or, second properties, hunting land, that kind of stuff. So I would have people who would use their local lenders all around Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, all over the place. So not only just within a 2 hour radius, but all over the place. So
I love it. And this is the first time we've ever had a realtor on who was previously a title rep. And so this is really, really cool stuff. I love the fact that you had this knowledge and you go, wait a minute, I can apply this knowledge to become a realtor because now I know things that most realtors don't know. But,
yeah.
but I want to also talk about making the switch because people see you in one career and it's related to real estate, but it's not necessarily they see you as a realtor. They see you as somebody to help them, get the title closed or part of the transaction. So when you made that switch, how did you start? What was your plan to make sure that people now saw you as a realtor as opposed to a title person? And by the way, we should mention, I'm sorry, let me mention, for a while, Cassidy was doing both, basically both full time. So she was still working at the title company. In fact, was it last year when you decided to go full time?
Yes. Yep.
So she hasn't even been doing this full time a year. So we're going to talk about her numbers in a minute, which is insane. But sorry, back to my question. So people see you as a title person. You're still working at the title company. Was that difficult to get people to now look at you as a real estate agent?
It was. Yeah, I think in the beginning, when I was working both jobs, they mostly saw me as, Cassidy and title, and I wasn't really fully applying myself to real estate. Some of my local realtors, they weren't too happy that I was
I
doing
would
both.
imagine they're not.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I am glad that I branched out and decided to do this full time. But um, yeah, I mean, now everything is perfectly fine. I have really good relationships with everybody else still because, I was there for 3 years, built these relationships with all these different realtors. And now that has made communication with everybody so much better because I had all the relationships beforehand, not like, hey, I have this transaction with John Smith. What, have you done a deal with him? Do you know what he's like? Like that kind of thing. You know who everybody is.
Well, that's also super helpful too, because you know which realtors play nice with others. You've seen it firsthand. You know which realtors can be more challenging, and so when if you're working with a buyer or a seller, and you see the agent on the other side of the deal, you can then say to your client, "I know so and so." And I mean, you're in a smaller community where there aren't thousands and thousands of realtors, so you probably would know everyone anyway. But you really know how they work, and so you have the ability to say, "This person's going to help get our deal closed," or this person can be, maybe you wouldn't say challenging, but they're challenging. And then you can take additional steps to determine, what you want to do. So this knowledge is really, really important. I love that. So we should talk about your numbers because the fact that you came from the title industry is really cool and certainly gave you this awareness of the industry, but it doesn't necessarily translate to sales. Like, it doesn't mean just because you know that you're able to actually close deals, but you have closed deals. So let's talk about last year, 2024, which we'll just call it your first actual year in the business, but again, not going full time until basically May. So, or April or May. So what did you do in your first year?
First year, I had about 30 transactions close or so and got close to 4 million in sales. So
That's pretty amazing. Roughly 30 sales and 4 million. And we should also mention that what's just to give us an example, what is the average price point in your area?
average price point is probably about 250, 250,000 or so.
Yep, I love it. So you have to close quite a few sales to get to that number, which you did. Now, for anybody to close 30 sales in any given year is pretty impressive. You did it in year one. And yes, you had this background knowledge of, what lenders work well, which other agents, how they work. How did you actually find these clients?
So a lot of them were generated leads that are provided through my office, which was really nice. Um, And then it was really just like word of mouth. You know, you deal with a lot of people who regularly use the title company for like for sale by owners and that kind of stuff. So you kind of drop your name like, hey, I'm getting into real estate. I know you're not working with a realtor. If you ever need anybody, just let me know. So that helped me out quite a bit. I got a few clients that way. And then also um, I try to think of different ways to advertise in unique ways. So I did like a photo shoot with my children where I was showing them a little plastic playhouse and had a professional photographer take the pictures and have them sit at a table and sign a paper that said deed at the top and did like a little photo shoot with them. And I've gotten a lot of feedback on that, which was it was really fun. And yeah, that was great. So I posted that on Facebook. Otherwise, most of it's been advertising on Facebook, posting my listings on Facebook. You get 20 people, let's say, that message you on one listing. If that's not the property for them, I say, okay, if this one's not the one, let's find you the right one. And then I end up getting a lot of buyers that way.
Wow, that's amazing. So just by posting a just listed or just sold or whatever, you get people that interact with you in Facebook. And then you're able to say, hey, I have access to everything, not just this one home. Let's talk. Let's find out what you're looking for because this may or may not be the right place, but I've got access to everything. So I got some other ideas for you.
Yeah. Yep,
I
exactly.
I love that. And so, let's dive a little bit into sort of, yes, you got some leads from your company, which is great, but you also did most of it on your own, which is really incredible. I want to talk a little bit about sort of the size of your market. So, how many total realtors are there in your area? Just guess, an estimate.
I would say in the county, maybe 25, 30.
Right. So that's she didn't say. Now here in Chicago, we have, including the suburbs, 46,000 realtors. Just to give people a sort of an idea of how it's different in a big metropolitan city like Chicago. So she's in a really small area. Everybody knows everybody, of course, and she's able to pull 30 transactions in her first year with in her, being a well, not even a full-time realtor. So this is a pretty incredible thing. So what you're doing is amazing. I want to ask you, what are you doing to keep the momentum going? So how are you building your business now?
I am working on doing different types of mailings, different types of advertising, like dropping stuff off at local businesses for people to pick up as they're stopping in with my business card attached to it and a funny sign. I try to throw humor on almost everything that I do because people get a kick out of that. Um, yeah, otherwise it's just keeping base with all of my past clients. I treat everybody like they're my grandma pretty much. Yeah, I try to keep in touch, go out to dinner with people, just so you're kind of always in the back of their head.
So once somebody closes, you'll still continue to hang out with them, call them from time to time, maybe invite them to dinner.
Yes. Yep, exactly.
Gotcha. That's really cool. Now I want to ask about dropping off things at your local businesses because that's something I don't hear a lot of agents talk about. So yes, there are local merchants, businesses that you like in your area. What kind of things are you leaving there for people to take? And how do you approach the owner of the the retail shopper or whatever it is and say, hey, I'd like to put my stuff here.
Yeah, so one of them that I've done is dropping off like a pile of business cards at a drink store, a nutritional drink store. And I'm a regular customer there. So I knew her on a personal level. You know, everybody when population is only 14,000 in the whole entire county. So um, yeah, otherwise, I'm working on one right now where I'm putting together little bags filled with one has like dog treats, and I have like 500 bags made up. And then I have one where I'm doing little cat mice toys in separate
Love it.
bags with a business card attached to them all. And I'm going to drop them off at like humane societies and vet clinics and also donate like separate stuff for the animals that are already there. So donating and saying, hey, do you mind if I put this up there? Usually they're not going to tell you no.
Right. Yeah. I love that. I mean, you're a hustler. I love that. You're thinking about where do my clients go or where do my future clients go? Where are they hanging out? Where are they getting pets? And you can even go to pet food stores possibly and do the same thing, right? And so
Yep.
you have this thought of where do my clients hang out and how can I can't hang out there with them at all times, but how can I be there when I'm not there, basically? And so you're doing things like, little treats. And I love that. That is I don't know anyone. I've done this show for 7 years. I don't know anyone that's actually shared with me that exact strategy. So thank you for sharing that, our audience. So basically, our audience, think about a merchant that you have a relationship with in your local area and think about what you could do to help them. Maybe you put a fishbowl in there and you're like, hey, I give away a free lunch once a week or once a month or whatever. Drop your business card in, something simple like that. It could be even that. Or if you want to go a step further, think of an item of value that you could give to the customer, and or something you can do for the merchant. Maybe you're like, hey, I'm going to promote your business. I'm going to put you on Facebook all the time, or I'm going to, I'll give them a coupon or something. There's all sorts of cool things you can do and partner with local businesses that I think a lot of agents just don't think about doing.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And I'm trying to think out of the box and try to find things that most agents don't typically do.
Yeah. Um, so let's talk about your transition again. So you transition from title agent to real estate agent, and now you're doing deals, left and right. You're getting business, and so what are your goals for this year? Like, what would you like to do in production? How many deals do you think you can do? That kind of thing.
I would like to times my sales from last year by about 1.5. So I'm looking to get about 45 sales, and then get like 6,000 or 6 million. I mean, sorry about that.
That's pretty amazing. And at some point, you're going to be in team building mode because you're going to hit a limit and you're going to hit it soon. And so at some point, we really think about what Cassidy's doing. She's building this amazing pipeline to get her to this high number of transactions. And then she's going to say, I need a partner, or maybe not. Maybe you can do it all yourself. I love that though. You are really crushing it. What advice, if you were a brand new realtor, starting out in a not obviously not your market but a different market, and what would you tell a new agent to do, or any agent that's struggling right now that doesn't have any business?
I would tell them to go out to your local businesses and make friends with whoever you can. Once you make that relationship, you can not per se use that, but you can kind of combine and go on marketing together. For instance, like, hey, if you give me a pile of your business cards, I'll put them in my office, give them out to clients. Could be a contractor's office, something like that. And then in return, you could say, hey, if I could just, leave a pile here, something like that. Or you got to try to think of places that would be willing to send referrals your way. Like, for example, a title company. Make friends with your title agents because I can't tell you how many times they get the phone calls. Hey, I'm looking to buy property there. I don't know who to call for a realtor. Who would you recommend? I got that call so many times when I worked in title. And I actually do that to this day as a realtor. If I try to do my referrals out to Remax agents because I'm a Remax agent. But if there's no Remax agents in that area, the title company is the first people that I call. So make friends with your title company.
Now, one of the benefits of working, I want to switch gears to talk about what can go wrong in a transaction, because as somebody who worked in the title industry, you've seen every sort of disaster happen in a transaction. So let's talk about how that knowledge really helps you get deals closed faster. Because from what I understand, you're constantly thinking about, okay, what could go wrong right now? And so talk about that process.
Yeah, yep. So it's exactly what you said. Like whenever I'm drafting documents, writing an offer, if there's anything that's out of the ordinary, the first thing I say to myself is, how can this go wrong? For example, if a seller's leaving personal property on property until after closing, let's say it's a camper in the yard, um, and they want to leave it here because we have 3 feet of snow or something, and they live out of state, they're not coming up until summer. Uh, I make sure like I say, what can go wrong here? And then I go to thinking about when the ground thaws and everything is a wet, mushy mess. You pull in a camper through a yard, that's going to create ruts. So you need to put in there that any damage to the lawn or driveway needs to be repaired by X date. Have a deadline for when those people need to come and get their stuff. Um, if there's any damage, buyers aren't responsible for that. Seller needs to get that fixed. So just it really makes you think what can happen here, and also easements. There's a
Yeah.
lot of general easements out there that don't state what happens if this culvert goes out because it's on the easement and it's on this other property too, on the subject property. Um, so when there's something that's on both of their properties or there's not a written driveway agreement in place where it states who's responsible for repairs, that stuff needs to be specified before closing, just in case something would happen. So you just kind of always got to tell yourself what can go wrong.
And I guess a title company is a great place to learn that. I know you had mentioned if you were starting out in real estate, you might start out in title again. If you were to do it all over again, you might do it the exact same way because the knowledge you gained was great. Now, for everyone listening who's already a realtor, you're probably not going to, stop doing that to work in title. But I think the idea of buddying up with a title person and becoming their best friend and doing something nice for them and then saying, hey, I want to learn from you. I want to learn what can go wrong in a transaction. As an agent, what do you wish agents knew before they got to the closing table? This is stuff that Cassidy already knows, but this is knowledge that anybody can really learn if you develop good relationships.
Yeah, yep, exactly. And another thing too, working in title, you're sitting there, you're going through loan docs, you're talking with the customers. A lot of times, like realtors, they'll come in and they'll look at the closing statement at the closing table and they'll say, "Oh, like we're missing something." It's nice to have that knowledge ahead of time because if it's a mess up on title, I'm more likely to catch that when I review it ahead of time rather than me not working in title and not even knowing what to look for. So I know what fees they charge. I know what should be on that closing statement. I know what fees the lenders want on that closing statement. So it just makes you overlook everything a second time and make sure that everything is good.
Now, I've bought several properties in my life, and I'm in this business, and I still, whenever I close, I'm always like, do I need to bring money to like? I never know what I'm going like. It's always a mystery, right? Like the day before, my attorney or something will be like, okay, you need to bring a check or you don't need to bring a check. And I never know what it is. I just trust everyone's working in my best interest. But the reality of it is somebody does need to know that. And what you have, almost to the penny what a closing is going to look like. And I will tell you, as somebody that is in this business, but also not really an agent. I mean, I'm technically one, but I don't practice. So think of me as just like an average person on the street who doesn't really know the business. I don't know what's going on with closings. And by the way, again, I'm a part owner in a title company. I truthfully don't know a whole lot about it, and it's embarrassing, but it's true. So I need this information, and I have a hard time getting it. You are able to go to your clients and say, "Look, I'm going to guide you through every step. I not only do I know what's going to go wrong or what could go wrong, we're going to protect you from that. We're going to make sure you're covered. I've seen this a million times in my previous career, and I also know." All the charges that are coming along with it. And I know what you're going to be looking at. So you're not going to be surprised by anything at the last moment. And I think that is a pretty impressive pitch to somebody because you have this intricate knowledge. But again, anybody could really learn this if they start reaching out to other title companies.
Yeah, yep, exactly. Yeah, it's been really nice to have that knowledge to advertise with. Um, And it comes up all the time too, like in showing someone will be like, oh, well, the seller died. What do we need to do for that? Do we need to wait on the state? Like what do we do if we want to put in an offer? The process, they need to do a termination of decedent's interest. It depends on who's on title. So when people call you and they want to list a property and they say, hey, my wife just died. I can't afford the house on my own. It's super unfortunate situation. And this is just an example. Um, the best way to go about that. Like, hey, get a hold of your title company. You need to do a termination of decedent's interest so that we don't have to deal with this, when we get to closing. but you might want to wait until then because it'll save you $185 if you do it all in one. So there's all sorts of different knowledge that you know.
I love that. And you also know a lot about capital gains, which is also something that always confuses me is like, wait, I sell this home and then what happens? How much time do I have to sort of try to mitigate that? Or, because it changes from time to time, but you know that information, and that's probably super helpful too, because you can let your clients know when they're selling their property, here's sort of the situation. And now, of course, you're not a tax expert, and you don't pretend to be, but you're able to share knowledge that most accountants would know with your client and therefore add more value, correct?
Yes, yep, exactly. So, for example, if you have a house, if you have an accepted offer for a $600,000 primary residence, had two adults living in it that's married in the state of Wisconsin, you have to pay capital gains on anything that's over 500,000. So let's say, they're including a tractor in this at no monetary value. They're including a camper and all the furnishings. You're going to want to recirculate that and do the sale price is 500,000 and do an allocation for personal property for 100 to avoid having to pay capital gains on that. So, and also own the property for 2 years. So yeah, it's second nature after you work in title.
What percentage of, I know there's not a ton of agents in your area, but do you think most agents even know that in your area?
I would think not. No, I've had a lot of calls when I worked in title on realtors that were asking this kind of information, like, hey, what's the best way to do this? Even as an agent, I get other realtors in my office that'll call and ask these kinds of questions as well.
I love that. That makes you think about how valuable that makes Cassidy in her area. Not only can she help somebody, find a property and put an offer in or sell a property, she knows the things that go wrong, what the whole process looks like from start to finish, not only monetarily, but also the behavior of different lenders and realtors and title companies. She knows sort of how to get the deal closed fast, what can possibly screw up a deal, and then what's going to happen after the deal. For example, if they're selling, she's able to save people money on, hey, here's a way to get around, not get around, that's not the right word, here's a way to leverage this law that we have that says, hey, anything above 500,000 you pay cap gains on. Here's a way to still get that property sold and get that additional income and saving you taxes. I mean, this is incredible. Like that in and of itself, if you just had that transaction as you mentioned, that more than pays for your commission if you think about it, because we're talking about maybe $30,000 savings, maybe more. Like this is incredible amount. You're like almost becoming a hero to these people, unless their accountants and financial advisors know this stuff and tell them to do that. But usually, when you're working on a home purchase or sale, you're probably not really working with your financial advisor. That's really more for investment. So, the realtor is really such a great place. And so I almost think that's a great conversation to have with any seller. Let's talk capital gains before we list your property. What's going to happen the day we sell this, and what's coming down the pipe for you, and are there any creative strategies to avoid capital gains or minimize that potential? There's you can roll things into other properties. There's lots of ideas, and all of those ideas. So you've seen the 1035s and 1031s. You've seen those exchanges, and you know what those. And I assume those you can do those in Wisconsin. But
Yes.
regardless, people, you can learn this stuff. So if I was an agent today, I would be reaching out to accountants who deal with real estate attorneys as well, title companies, and I would say, what are the things that you wish realtors would know but they don't know, and lenders too. Like as somebody who's seen all the lenders, the docs people need to get deals closed. Like this is incredibly helpful. You really are kind of a one-stop shop from start to finish, and people don't have to your clients don't have to look outside of you. And that makes you incredibly valuable. So I guess my point is that what Cassidy's the reason why she's had I mean, she's a lovely person, and I'm sure she's an amazing realtor on top of all the things we've talked about. But even if she wasn't good at any of that, she knows every step of the process and what can go wrong and how to either avoid it altogether, or how to get around a problem, or how to solve a problem. So even if her knowledge of the market in the area wasn't strong, she still knows the entire process start to finish, and she gets deals closed. And she got almost 30 deals closed in her first year. So couple that with being like a really nice person and really also like a good at your job as a realtor, like that in and of itself is a superstar right there. And she basically is doing that in her first year. So if I was an agent in that area, I wouldn't be very happy with you. I agree. I think there would be people who would say, I mean, I'm sure they're happy for you because you know you're a nice person, but at the same time they're like, oh my gosh, she knows everything, right? And so now from now, so that's sort of the point, is it always increase your knowledge, everyone. Increase your knowledge of what happens at certain points of a deal, and don't, be the kind of agent that just learns those answers so that you can bring that to your client, because something always goes wrong in a transaction. At some point there's always something that blips and the client freaks out. Would you say that's fair to say?
Oh yeah. Yep, I would say it's rare to find one, and usually it's the high dollar properties where it's smooth sailing, you don't get any issues, and then it's like your $90,000 properties where every issue arises.
Right. So, and since you know those issues, your clients aren't blindsided by them. You're probably prepping them for disasters ahead of time, saying, just in case this happens, don't worry, I've got it. And then it happens, and then you're like, nope, this is no big deal. I know how to fix this. So I guess this is a skill building episode to learn. But as an agent, you might think, well, how do I do that? Like we said, buddy up with the lenders, the obviously the title agents, and also the attorneys and accountants and financial estate planning attorneys. That would be another great way to go. Like, talk to estate planning attorneys and go, hey, when people buy and sell real estate, like what would a realtor need to know so that we can give our clients, we don't give them tax advice, but we can push them and gently nudge them in the right direction. So I love all of that. Cassidy, you are an incredible first, up and coming agent, first, well, just beyond, or not even your first full year. So you're looking to do 45 sales in a small community of 14,000 people and only about 25 to 30 realtors in your area. You are literally the definition of taking market share away from other agents. And I don't mean that in a negative, because that is an amazing, amazing accomplishment. You are building this incredible business and you're doing it through the service you provide. And I love that. So we are so excited to continue to watch you ascend in your area. You are, I'm sure, going to be the top agent very shortly if you're not already. So we want everybody to follow Cassidy. We're going to have a link to her Facebook. She keeps it really simple. She's like, I just post everything on Facebook. So watch how she interacts with people on Facebook. Take a look. We'll give you a link to her. And by the way, if you have clients that get second homes or lake houses up in the central or northern Wisconsin, actually anywhere in Wisconsin, if Cassidy can't help you, she'll know who to reach out to that could help you. But what's the best way one of our listeners could reach out to you if they have an idea they want to run by you, or maybe a referral?
Yeah, either Facebook message or text, call, whatever.
You're
Email. Anyway, I am usually available or get back to you within a few minutes.
We have a link to Cassidy's email, and an easy way to reach her, also through Facebook, on in the show notes, so everyone can find her there. On behalf of our audience, Cassidy, thank you so much. By the way, Cassidy reached out to us and said, "Hey, I have kind of an unusual story. I want to share it with your audience." Here we are. So it also, I love the fact that you're so proactive. You're obviously a proactive person, and proactive people sometimes get spots on the show. We turn down about 90% of requests, but this was one that we thought was really special. So we appreciate your time on behalf of the audience. On behalf of Cassidy and myself, thank you to the audience for sticking around to the very end. Please support our sponsors. They help pay the bills. Also, leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the show on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you're listening. Give us a review. Let us know. And please, lastly, tell a friend. Think of one other realtor that needs to hear this, that goes, oh, the market's terrible right now. Well, it's not terrible for Cassidy. She's doing great. And yes, she has probably knowledge and information a lot of agents don't have. But if you could learn a little bit from her through this episode and take action, you could be just like her. And imagine what you could do in a market with, millions of people like Chicago. It would be, you'd be on fire, but you're already on fire in a small community and you're crushing it. So keep up the great work. And on behalf of everyone, thank you. Cassidy, thank you. And we will see everybody on the next episode.